Life is funny. Not in a ha ha hee hee type of way, but in a if you just let it be what it will be, you'll be happier. I remember when I was a little girl, and when I say little girl, I say about 8 years old. I saw myself as, or I predict, I won't say predicted, but um, I imagined that when I became a grown woman, I would be thin and rich. I imagined that I would be popular and desired by many, preferred by many. I thought that I would be um, or appear to be happier, appear to be prettier. And I don't say that to say that I'm not happy now or I don't see myself as pretty now, because that's not the case. But I'm saying that I saw myself in a way that I would never, like it would never be that. It would never be that. But as children, we are encouraged to think and imagine and go after. And we're told oftentimes you can be whatever you want to be if you put your mind to it. So by the time I got maybe 11 or 12, I went after it, not really understanding that I would never be those things. It was a very painful process, and it was a painful process for at least the next, let's say 15 years of my life from that moment. I thought that popularity, and this is of course as a child, was something that was easily obtained. Easily attained. I thought that all people were good people, loving people, and all you had to do was be nice to people and be kind to people, and people would open their arms and welcome you in, and you would have all of these friends. And I thought that the neighborhood we lived in was something next to Clueless. I watched that movie a lot, and I thought that I would develop um, in a way that would be societally acceptable. And again, like I said, it never happened. Everything that I wanted to be was impossible because I was already created to be who I am today. I think if I was able to imagine me as an adult, or the adult that I am now as a child, I would have rejected her. I would have rejected me as an adult because I look nothing like I thought I would look when I was 8 years old. Hell, I already got gray hair growing out my head. I've accomplished none of the vanity that I wanted to attain when I was 18 years old. 8 years old. I didn't get the popularity. Actually, the pursuit of popularity had me battling low self-esteem for a very long time. I didn't have the friends I thought I would have. I never got the boys that I had a crush on. Life seemed a bit unfair, but for some reason, life was always forgiving, and even more than that, it was always giving me things that I didn't really deserve in a good way. It was always giving me things that I didn't really ask for. And I think that came more because the more I got rejected, the more I got ridiculed, the more I got criticized, I took it and I accepted it. I didn't fight against it. Was I ambitious in pursuit because I still believed that it could happen? Yes. But did I cry over the spilled milk? Absolutely not. I really don't know where the ability to accept and move on, let it hurt while it hurt, and then continue on in life. I really don't know where I got that from, honestly. I'd say probably from my dad's side of the family. Um, but I'm not really sure. I'll leave it at that. I didn't know that I would be more committed to actually being who I was supposed to be. When I think about it in hindsight, and the fact that I was always willing to learn and be educated and tell the truth, and I was always good with being alone. Um, I was never confrontational, but I would kick your ass if you pushed me to that point. I was talented. I was gifted, still am. Loving, kind, patient, often well beyond my years. People always would tell me I was very mature for my age, but I didn't have a choice. Um, it was something about not contorting to what I thought was necessary as a child. It was something about not contorting to that image that required me to have a lot of patience. And because I had a lot of patience with myself, I had a lot of patience with others, and a lot of patience with a lot of other things. And I'm thankful because by taking the pace of patience, I have become and I am still becoming this phenomenal woman that I could not have foreseen as a child by no stretch of the imagination. And I know that God is real, and I know that Jesus is real, and I know that the Holy Spirit is real, and I know these things. And I know that while I was ignorant and understanding individuality and authenticity and acceptance, there was protection around me, um, against things and people and places that depended on my vulnerability and my naivete to feel good about themselves. I battled that for quite some time until it made sense. But when it made sense, I didn't fool with that no more. And that's usually how I am about a lot of things in my life. Once it makes sense and I realize that an environment or a person or a thing is not safe for me to be around, I remove myself immediately. And again, I don't really know where that comes from. I don't. But I grew into this version of myself. And it has been I don't know who letting these dogs bark this late at night because it's clearly almost 12:30 in the morning. Why are your dogs outside barking? We live in an apartment. Take them dogs in the house. Let me not say that. Let me not say that, Lord. Anywho, I'm glad that God saw it necessary for me to be all of the things that I needed to be so that I did not shrink into who I thought I should be. I'm glad that life was as gentle and as rough as it was all at the same time to mold me into this version of myself because the lessons that I have learned have been blessings. And to accept things as I get older, it seems like the older I get, some things, some of the things that I have to accept, um, it's not as comfortable. And it's just simply because as we get older and we know more, we become mature, it's up to us to make sense of the world. You know, when we were children, we trusted leaders and our parents and teachers and aunts and uncles and whoever else. We trusted them to create a world for us. And we depended on them to make sure that that world that they created for us was safe and productive and blessed and abundant. But then we become adults and we realize that it's up to us. It is up to me to make the decisions, to have the self-reflection, to have the real reality of what's going on around me. So I don't do like I did when I was 8 years old and let somebody make me believe things that were not there and create a reality that made me believe that I could be things that I would never be able to be. Even if I was able to make it happen and make it appear as such, it still would not have been who I was supposed to be. In a world where we are encouraged to have a filter and have a wig and have lashes and have makeup and have nails and get a BBL and all of these things as women, in a world where we are asked to do these things if we want to have societal acceptance, to go against that just because the feeling of having all of those things never made me happy. To go against that was challenging and it was hard. But when I realized that I didn't have to have anybody's approval to be who I'm going to be, it made it easier for me to get a whole lot of people away from me that made me think opposite of being a woman who accepts the truth and moves on. Because truth be told, even when I was in pursuit of all of these things, and to sum it up, when I was in pursuit of so much societal acceptance, the type of energy and the type of attention that that type of pursuit, ambition, and lifestyle would attract was something that never agreed with me, with my spirit. And as I've gotten older, I realize now that it didn't agree with it because I never was going to be that. And one thing about me is if it don't feel right, I'm not second guessing that feeling. And as I've gotten older, it's non-negotiable. I know the feeling too well now. And I let time play out. Because sometimes I do. I respond in precaution rather than wisdom. And very rarely, but it does happen where I say, hey, that was more of a trauma. That was more of a trigger than an intuitive knowing or discerning knowing. But I've learned over time that as far as I'm concerned, my preferences, what I like, what I desire, what feels good to me, has a lot to do with who I am. And things that I don't like, and things that make me feel funny, and things that make me anxious and angsty, those are things that don't belong to me. And so I say all of these things to encourage others to learn how to hurt a little, to learn how to be uncomfortable a little bit, to learn how to feel a little embarrassed and a little ashamed. So that way you are familiar with those feelings, and when you become familiar with those feelings, you understand that that's just you responding to things that do belong and don't belong. It seems strange. And you may even end up in a situation where you're alone on your own island. But that'll pass. It won't be like that forever. The truth of the matter is that if you never allow yourself to become your authentic self, you'll never meet good people. You'll never end up in good places, and you'll never experience good things. Everything that you experience when you are not your authentic self will be a knockoff version, will be beneath you. It'll never be a good thing. It'll always be a facade, a fake, a fraud, and an immediate gratification until you move on to the next fraud, fake, immediate gratification. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because I was thinking about that while I was laying on the couch. But I'm about to go back into a state of silence and just listen to the nothingness of the room, because I have learned that to sit in silence is one of the most underappreciated blessings earned. A quiet life. If you have moments in your life where you can have quiet moments, you are in tune with who you are more than you know. Because I think that there's a lot of people out here who think that having constant noise around their atmosphere is validation of success and belonging and becoming and being a part of something. And I can't speak for those people, but I can only speak for myself and say that in times where there were times in my life where I could never hear the stillness of nothing, I was around things that did not belong because I was a version of myself that was not authentic. All right. That's really all I got to say.